Hi everybody, welcome to Livewire Review, and today we got something kind of interesting, a 2023 Ford E-Transit. And usually I like to say vehicles like this will fit a certain niche, or they will fit a certain usage case, but with the numbers on this one, it really has made itself an outlier.
Yeah, it's got a really small battery and it's a very interesting range. So we're going to cover a couple of the things this vehicle can do, but without further ado, let's get into it.
So let's start this one out with a little bit of a walk around. So let's talk about the styling right away up here on the front. To set itself apart from the other Transit vans, you're getting these funny, unique blue accents here. And of course, just tucked down there under the emblem is your charging port. Very nice. We both said on a vehicle this large to be able to pull right into a charger when you need it. Yeah, you'd see oftentimes with the bigger vehicles, you got a little bit of a jig jog, or you got to park at an angle or back in, depending on anybody else that's there. So it is handy to be able to just nose in, plug in, and away you go. One thing I think we both reacted to when I popped this hood is, look how cavernous this thing is with, the engine missing, so to speak. All your major components right down inside here, a ton of space. And I mean, it's funny because you can see everything, and we'll throw it to a shot here. The spare tire's right down there. That one really made me giggle when I looked down and was like, what is that? Oh, it's the tire. Isn't that neat? Now, again, right off the hop, we talked about who does this vehicle suit? What is its main purpose? Well, to haul things, cargo, or you're the tradesman that you have all your stuff in the back ready to go. Well, this Transit is set up right here. It will take 3,700 pounds of payload, which is very respectable. That is a ton of stuff you can pack into this thing. And how much is that going to affect the range? I can't tell you today because, of course, we don't have it loaded up, but we will talk about where this thing and how this thing will go momentarily. In the meantime, it's a big panel van. There's not much else to talk about here. Gray color, alloy wheels down low. Actually, I like that they're a little bit smaller, unlike some of the other trucks and vans now where you're getting bigger and bigger and more expensive. Easy to replace, easy to work on. And of course, around back here, you got the standard barn doors. Now, I always do appreciate Ford's setup with the barn door because you do have that, how does it release there? Yeah, unlock, there it is. You do have that door that will do a true open. So you don't just have the single stage where you have a door here in your way. You can flip them right out, get in there, load stuff, or an entire pallet truck can get in here. So why don't we jump over to Jeremy? We'll talk about the numbers and we'll talk about why this thing is kind of disappointing and a little bit strange.
Well, I'm going to start talking about some of the numbers of this truck. It's a little strange how they set this up. This vehicle only has a 68 kilowatt hour battery. It's a lot smaller than I would expect to see in a truck of this size, especially one with a payload of 3,700 pounds. Now, some of the uses you can do with this van, as Matt was saying, is you can actually fit 2 skids in these vans, depending on what size van you buy. The nice thing about these large side doors here is that you can actually fit a skid in the side door and a skid in the back. Now, the problem with that is the range on this vehicle is very, very small. It's rated at about 200 kilometers. It goes up or down depending on what roof size you get. They have a short, medium, and a tall. Now, 200 kilometers is in ideal conditions. From what I've read, you can get about 140 kilometers in the winter and maybe up to 240 kilometers in the summer. Now, that's an issue here in Canada because a lot of our runs are very long. For example, there was one auto parts company that I worked for that would actually run down to Toronto to pick up 2 skids of product and bring it down to the store for lunchtime. And then right after lunch was over, it would head up to Parry Sound. Now, just the one run down to Toronto is 110 kilometers from here. You'd use up over half your range just doing the one run in the morning. So charging up over lunchtime, you would have to do it a level 3 charger. So that means every day you're going to have probably about an $8 or a $10 charge overnight, but then every single day at lunchtime, you're actually going to have to charge this thing up for about $20 to $30 at a level 3 charger. And I'm assuming this is like most Ford vehicles, it's going to take about 30 to 40 minutes, maybe down to 25 minutes. So that's something you're going to have to schedule into every single day with this van. So I usually have a little segment on the heating system in these vehicles, and I have to say I'm actually kind of disappointed with this. This is using old Chevy Bolt technology. I'm sure you've probably seen this on the Weber channel before, but this one is actually using a high voltage heater underneath the hood. It isn't even a PTC that's inside the cab, it's under the hood, which means that it actually has to heat up a coolant loop, and there is a separate cooling loop here that goes to a heater core inside the cab. Now, I'm going to assume this is probably around a 7,000 watt heater. Most of these electric vehicles that use this setup are around 7,000 watts. That's really going to eat into your range. So I'm kind of disappointed there. And it does give you one extra maintenance point. It means you have 2 cooling systems that you have to maintain in this vehicle. Okay, we're in the 2023 E-Transit. I'm actually gonna give Matt a ride home right now.
Woo!
It's an excellent idea. That way we get our road test in while we're doing something
Productive.
Yeah.
Flat rate and all that. Well, right off the hop, it's a big ass van. It's nice that they've got this wall in here. Now these are all aftermarket equipped. I'd have to reread the build sheet to get the name for you, but it's nice how customizable these things are. You can definitely tailor them to whatever it is that you're doing, your purpose exactly. You know, they got this cool tinted window here and this nice insulated. I know when there's no wall here and you're talking like this, trying to get this audio to sound correct without the cavernous echo is nearly impossible. So I do appreciate that we've got this here, but obviously if this is not your style, you can get rid of it. This does not come on every Transit, so just keep that in mind when you're looking at this reflection here behind me. All right. I don't think we're gonna spend, still awfully quiet. Now this is a rear wheel drive based vehicle too, and when you take off there, you definitely feel that bias. Like in my head, I was expecting that front wheel kind of lift and pull, but you kind of get that planted push, which is really nice.
It was actually kind of neat. You can feel the regen pulling from the back, which I'm not used to. So we never did cover this before. This vehicle comes with 266 horsepower and 317 pound-feet of torque. Now, it's quite heavy. I can tell you, taking off from the dealership there, it's not quick. It really isn't.
It takes the fun out of EV torque.
It really does.
That was my impression for the short drive I had with it earlier. I did punch it for that usual little schoolboy giggle I like to do, but I was like, oh, it's not there this time. It's nowhere near as fun. The regen is aggressive though. Even when you just got off the pedal there, I can feel it coming towards this light here. That's really cool. One of the big things I wanted to talk about in here is just how business focused this cab is. And the reason I wanted to talk about it is because this screen is awesome. You got lots of settings in here. We were already playing with a couple different things. You know, it's great to have, but everything else is 3 tones of gray plastic. And what bothers me about that, and again, this is me being nitpicky, but the sticker price on this thing is $78,770 in Canada. That's pricey for a business-focused interior. I would like to see, I don't know, maybe a slightly more comfortable material in here. I mean, I don't even get an armrest as the passenger. You at least get an armrest. It's like, yeah, we got leather seats. I don't need leather seats if I'm climbing in this thing doing my job all day long. Give me something else nice to look at. Trim it a little nicer. I don't know. It might just be me complaining. What do you think?
For me personally, it all comes down to that battery. I don't even care that it has the worst heat system that I've seen in quite a while. It's just put a bigger battery in it. I'll take a bare bones system with roll down windows as long as I'm able to get where I need to go and haul the stuff I need to haul. This is a bare bones van. I know you can do it up and you can make a camper van out of it. In fact, I think your brother even went down and saw them make an E-Transit into a camper van.
Yes.
But it was a unique situation with that one. They weren't allowed to access the battery. Ford would not give them the battery access. So they had to add another several kilowatt hour battery just to run the items in the camper van.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. If you're going to customize one of these vehicles, you have no access to the battery, but you should order the ProPower onboard system if you're going to do something like that. That will give you access to that power.
You make a good point though. It's the balance between functionality and features. And if I'm paying that kind of money and I'm not getting the range and I'm not getting the interior, where are those dollars?
Yeah, what are we paying for?
You know?
A 68 kilowatt hour batteries, it's just barely bigger than what's in my Kona.
And I mean, you know what? This actually gives me an excellent segue to say thank you to the Bourgeois Auto Group for providing this vehicle for the test. And this vehicle is actually on the lot right now, and there's a giant $10,000 off sticker in the window. So if you're interested, that's Bourgeois Ford in Midland, Ontario. Give them a call. But for right now, let's keep talking about what we're doing. Down here in the middle, what have I got? I got my charge cable. That's awesome. Nowhere really to put it, to say behind the seat, but that's all good in the hood. Lots of work-focused things in here. You do get a USB charger down here. You've got 12-volt connections. Now, you do have a low range, too, so I'm wondering if that would up your regen, like make it more aggressive.
It might just be a software mapping thing that kind of emulates what a low-range gear is. Because I noticed in here they have 3 different modes. They have the normal mode, an eco mode, and then a slippery weather mode.
I brought them up there. So we're currently running an eco. You got a range calculator there somewhere, right? 185 I'm seeing on the dash?
Yep.
So if I hit normal...
Oh, I got more power.
Ooh, we do got more power.
It's better.
Does it update the range at all? Does it?
No, it still says 185.
Okay, and then if I go slippery,
No.
how's that feel?
That changes the throttle pedal. So what I'm noticing is it has a very large dead zone, and then it gives you all the power.
Okay. Well, there, I'll leave it in normal because that's more fun.
Yes.
And you get this really cool infographic of driving around the city, which is nice.
It looks like the Sim City back when, like from the 2000s. That looks
Except
awesome.
it doesn't have the hurricanes and the Godzillas
No.
I used to send out them all the time.
And the robots from space. I love that.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cup holders.
Well, it is a business vehicle.
Not including all
What is
this.
the number one vehicle you see in the Tim Hortons drive-thru? Vans, pickup trucks, people who should be working.
Should be working. Usually have town of stickers on the side, yes.
Yeah.
Now, I just noticed when I leaned forward there too, you also have an additional 12 volt and USB-C plug up there in front of you, right in that well there, so you'd be able to charge or run something up there. Again, delivery guy, you can put your GPS connection up there and have it right in front of your face. That's actually kind of cool, to not have to run additional wires all through here. It's just all up in the left-hand corner of the dash.
Now that brings up one of the funnier features on this vehicle. Did you notice that this thing has dual batteries?
I saw it on the build sheet, but I haven't located them. Where are they?
No, I haven't found them yet either.
Yeah.
But anyway, why would you need 2 batteries in an electric vehicle?
You need all the extra amps to start the battery.
To start the battery.
Yeah.
I like that.
to preheat the PTC heater. To preheat, I don't know. I'm making stuff up there. I'm just clutching. I'm thinking diesel jokes in the dead of winter, but they don't necessarily apply here. But I will say, for what we're doing, this is a comfortable seat.
Yep, it's very van-like.
Yeah.
It definitely has the ride of a van. It does have coil springs in the back, so that's a little nicer, but I feel the same normal problems I have in any van is basically you're riding on a brick.
Yeah, you don't have that high center of gravity though that I was expecting with a van like this. And I would attribute that to the battery being down low in the back end, and that's nice. It gives this whole experience a different feel. Again, part of me was about to say, this would be comfortable for a long trip, but it'd be comfortable for 200 kilometers at a time.
Well, not only that, when you go to a level 3 station, do you charge to 100? No, so maybe every 150 kilometers at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
You better be hungry because you're going to be eating a lot.
Yeah, you're going to be waiting an awful lot of time in between. Yeah, we should talk about, as we mentioned, this is Ford's, just adapting something that they already had into a new drivetrain, or putting a new drivetrain into something they already had, rather. Mm-hmm. And you can't frame that any better than when you actually look at this gauge cluster here. So they just left in the standard fuel gauge that you would see on a heavy duty or on the Transit itself. They didn't bother to change it up at all. They just left it as is. And it's funny because they put a little battery emblem next to it, but like you're looking at it going, oh yeah, this looks like every other Ford truck on the road.
Man, it's been a long time since I've driven a van. My first vehicle was a van, so I got used to driving with mirrors and having no mirror in the back here. It was nice that it does come with a reverse camera as a standard issue, but if you want the 360 camera with this, it's another $1,300 Canadian.
$1,300 for the 360 camera on this van, and to be honest, I can't justify it. I'm not saying the cameras aren't good. I'm not saying it's not nice to have that, but you got a backup camera. These mirrors are awesome. You've got the convex and the flat mirror and the convex mirror on them. You can see everything down the sides of these things. I can't justify that much money for a camera system. I just can't. There you go. Back it in.
Oh yeah, we're going to use this reverse camera right now because this is one of the best things that has been added to vans over the last couple decades is reverse cameras. It's so much easier than trying to use your side mirrors. I can do it, but reverse cameras are definitely the best.
Yeah, but I mean, do you need this?
Oh, I definitely don't need the 360. Trust me. These side mirrors are incredible, and the reverse camera is just the icing on the cake.
Exactly.
Well, I'm going to be borrowing this van for the weekend. We'll cover a few more topics here. Matt won't be able to stick around, so we're going to have a discussion. What do we think of this vehicle? What kind of use cases can we cover with it?
we talked about it off the hop, and we talked about it a little bit off camera, where it's the delivery guy.
Yeah.
It's a delivery business, or you're the Amazon guy, the sole proprietor Amazon delivery guy. You're working in a neighborhood. You know your route, you know your distances, you know your stops, and in the case of a longer haul, you know where you can charge on the way. Like we even talked about contractors or general repair type guys. Even for them, you're sitting at home in whatever, city A, you get a call from a customer in city B, and you got to go. That's tough. That's going to be tight.
That's tough. You got to know where your chargers are, and they actually have to work.
Exactly.
So we've been talking about this a lot lately. The charging infrastructure. We really have an issue with that. It's okay if you know where the level 3 charger is and that it works, but we know what the public charging structure is like now. So I'm thinking the next 2 years, maybe year and a half, Ford has signed up for the NACS connector, the Tesla connector. I don't think this van's actually going to be an issue once that connector is on the vehicle. But right now, you're relying on CCS.
Yeah, and it's not the worst system out there.
No, it's not. It's actually a good system. It's
Yes.
just the makers of all these level 3 chargers, they just don't work. Especially like ABB ones, Electrify Canada, you're always going to find one broken. You're never going to know if it's going to work when you get there.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big enough van, you can have your own generator back there. But that's not what you want. You want to maximize that space for your usage and your business. Beyond that, though, Ford took their Transit, what they already had, didn't have to do a ton of adaptation to make this product work. And I think from the standpoint of, like we mentioned, or we've said, as a great first try.
Yes, I see it as a great
This is a cool product. It's going to do well for that guy who finds this usage perfect. But if you're still the guy on the fence about electric, this is not yours.
Yeah, don't use this as your first electric vehicle.
No.
Use this as a second vehicle or your primary business vehicle if you're a short distance runner.
Besides that, though, it's a big work van. It's going to have a lot. You're going to be able to get a lot done. Jeremy will tell you about how it feels and how it drives. For now, I'm out. So have a great weekend.
Oh, and one more thing. They actually offer Pro Power onboard with this, but it is an option. You should see the options list for this van. It's incredible.
But then Pro Power onboard. So now I'm that guy that went a little bit further than I wanted to, and now I got to plug in my tools, and I'm sucking up more of my juice now. Yeah, no, it's very, very small, narrow field cases that will actually fit this van.
That's true. Okay, well, have a good weekend, Matt. I'll be taking this home.
You too. Enjoy.
Okay. Okay, so before we start, I'm going to introduce my my driver here today. We have Andy from Andy's Appliance Repair. I thought I'd do something a little different, and we get somebody driving this vehicle that actually would use it every day for its real purpose. We'll get his thoughts on it. So, you ready to take off?
I guess so.
Okay, so foot on the brake, turn it forward just like you're starting a regular car. And it's on. That's it.
Wow. Yeah, my wife drives an electric vehicle, so I'm used to the thought of not having a starter, but still, that's weird.
Yeah. Now, tell us, what have you been driving for the last 3 decades for your service vehicle?
I've been driving a standard half-ton van. My current one's an E150, half-ton, slightly dressed-up model, but the essence is the back of it's empty. Whoops. Okay, there's where...
Yeah, so they've swapped over to a rotary dial shifter in these.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's go for a drive. Parking brake is self-releasing?
Yeah, it's electronic. It's already off.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's not telling me anything. So I guess shortly we get to see how fast we move. Okay, first impressions? Noisy.
Yeah, so I've been driving this van for a little while, and I've realized something after I did a little more research on it. This is a very high payload van. This one specifically can take 3,700 pounds, and the max weight capacity in some of these vans you can order is 3,880 pounds. And for that reason, this van does not ride well when it's empty. It actually rides very poorly. You get a lot of bumps, and you can feel the undulation. In fact, you'll probably even see the camera shake as we drive down the road.
Here's the irony. I also drive an F250, which is a 3/4 ton pickup. And that thing rides like a dream. This thing is, I don't know about weight capacity, but my first impression is for an electric vehicle, it is loud.
Yeah, it's incredibly loud. There's absolutely no insulation back there. In fact, it's quite nice that we have this bulkhead, because we were talking about the heating system in this van. If you were trying to heat the entire cabin here with that, what I'm guessing is a 7,000 watt heater under the hood, all your heat's just going to fly out the back panels. So it might be a good idea to get this divider just to keep your heat up here where the passengers are.
That's the same for any van. The one I drive currently does have a rear heater. It's not the stock one, so it doesn't have quite the same output. And yeah, it takes forever for those things to warm up. And that's with a gas engine running the thing.
Now, that'll be a different story in here. As we've seen over on the Truck King channel, when you warm up an electric vehicle, because it is an electric resistive heater, it's actually warm in here in less than 4 minutes.
Well, that's something. But no matter what, in my trade, I'm in and out of houses, so you get in there, it might be warm, you get to your first stop, you turn it off, guess what it does? It cools down.
No, it's not. And this one doesn't come with a heated steering wheel as far as I know, and I also haven't seen any options for heated seats in here, which would be a nice change.
An option for actually a power seat would be kind of a nice change too, because this thing is just manual seat only.
Yeah, but this is one of the most bare bones versions of this. This particular one that we're driving doesn't even have the Pro Power on board. And I was saying that was probably one of the features you'd want to get in here. You have to combine it with the intelligent key system. So it was not just $1,300. I think it came up to around $1,700 total. But it's worth it, because it takes a van that doesn't have a lot of utility to it and it allows you to do something you can't do with other vehicles, which is power all your tools on the job site.
Well, no argument there. If I were a contractor working with power tools in houses and so on, I could see that as being a very useful item. In appliance repair, basically, I take my tools into the house, so I don't need it quite the same way.
Yeah, so we were talking about the range in that matter. It would fit most of your use cases, but there are a couple of stretch points where you would have to plan out a level 3 charge stop. And from what I figured out, about 10 to 80% is about 43 minutes in this vehicle. It's quite the stop. So if you add up that $8 to $10 that you have to charge overnight, and you have to combine that with a $20 to $30 charge stop during the day, it adds up quickly over time. So in my verdict, I would actually like to see the battery styles that you get in the F-150 Lightning. The standard range of the F-150 Lightning comes with a 98 kilowatt hour battery. It already comes with all-wheel drive. According to the spec sheet for the XLT, it even comes with a 9.6 kilowatt Pro Power onboard. So in my mind, the F-150 Lightning XLT checks all the boxes for me. Starts at $69,000 here in Canada, and if you go for the extended range battery with 131, it's about $85,000 here in Canada. So if you need the extra range, $85K might be worth springing the extra 16 grand, but I think in most use cases, the standard range battery and about 300 kilometers of range in the Lightning might be a better choice for most people.
Short range, I agree. Now here's the thing. From us old schoolers, we're used to 150, 250, 350, so it's half, 3/4, or 1 ton vehicles.
Yeah, which was a long time ago, you're right.
Yeah, but if you put the long range battery in something like that, that drops your capacity down, but it increases your range. So for us old guys, you could be looking at it and saying, well, that's an F350, that's going to do exactly what I want, no issues. It will handle the weight, and it will give me the distance.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. I don't want this van to go away, because it does suit a niche purpose.
Yeah.
If a delivery company used this every single day and they used it to its full capacity, they'd actually find it's very cheap to operate. But I want to see the options for a 68, a 98, and a 131. That's what I want. Take the 3,700 pounds for the short haul heavy stuff, a medium grade one that would probably have around 3,000, 3,200, and then long range, let's say 2,700 pounds.
Well, as far as handling and so on, it handles like a van.
That's exactly what Matt said when he got into it.
You know, you get used to sitting at a certain height, having a certain distance, and it's a van. As I said, it's a slightly different configuration inside, but yeah, it's no great shakes, no big surprises there. So in a lot of ways, it would be useful, but for myself personally, as I said, put a larger battery in there so you get greater distance, and I might actually consider it as a service vehicle.
Yeah, I think for you, I think a 98 kilowatt hour battery would probably fit your needs quite well.
Yeah.
Because usually you go back to the same home base every time. So in that case, you get the Ford, the Pro power station from Ford. It's a 48 amp system. You should be able to get a decent amount of range out of it if you stop for lunch. I know that the price of electricity is a little higher during the day, about 21 cents a kilowatt hour where we are. But it would add enough that you'd still be able to get through your workday just fine. And you'd have the added option of warming up your vehicle before you set off again. Well, that brings us to the end of this video. Please let us know down in the comments, what do you think of this e-Transit van with a 68 kilowatt hour battery? Our conclusion was the same pretty much across the board. We think this should come with, say, a 98 kilowatt hour battery, maybe even a 131. The payload would suffer, but I think it would just open up at least 50% more of the market. What would be even more interesting if there was a lower model of the e-Transit van that came with the F-150 Lightning platform below it. It would offer all-wheel drive in a vehicle that has only ever had rear-wheel drive and is harder to drive in the snow. I think they would really cover the market quite a bit if they could give us some more options in the drivetrain layout. All-wheel drive, bigger batteries, different payload options. It's great that you have 3 different roof sizes, different lengths, and that you can get a cutaway model of this, but it's just not good enough with that small battery. There's so much more that can be done in the van market. Well, if you found this helpful, give us a like, maybe think about subscribing, and thanks for watching.